Chapter 7. She jerked upright as though out of sleep. She looked around. There was no silver circlet with a crescent moon. She wore only her damp nightgown. The pool rippled in the starlight. The moon was gone. The distant sound of the village church bell came to her, 12 notes, blown and distorted by the wind. She shivered. All she knew was that it had not been a dream. When Polly woke up, it was broad daylight and the sun was streaming into her room. She lay in bed, debating. How could she explain to her grandparents what had happened to her on Samhain, All Hallows Eve? It was over. Today was Friday, All Souls Day. She heard them coming up from the pool. She dressed and went downstairs, feeling weary and anxious. Coffee was still dripping through the filter into the glass. Carafe. She got a mug from the dresser. The Ogham stones were still there. She wondered where her grandmother was going to take them. She waited till the coffee had stopped dripping, then filled her mug and added milk. She was too tired to make café au lait. Her grandparents came downstairs and into the kitchen, greeted her. Then, what's the matter? She started to spell out her story. Wait, her grandfather said, and poured himself a cup of coffee and sat at his place. Her grandmother, too, sat down. Go on. They listened without interrupting. They did not tell her she should not have gone down to the pool. When she had finished, they looked at each other. We better call Nace, her grandfather said. While they were waiting for the bishop, they had breakfast. Mrs. Murry had made oatmeal the night before, and it was on the back of the stove, hot, over a double boiler. Automatically, she set out brown sugar, raisins, milk. Help yourselves. I don't like the implications of this, Mr. Murry said. There seems to be no way we can protect Polly except by chaining her to one of us. They stopped talking and they heard urgent barking outside. Mr. Murry put his hands to his forehead. I'd almost forgot him. He went out through the pantry door and came in with a dog who pressed about excitedly. Polly, it is Corralis's dog? I think so. Mr. Murry shook his head, went back out to the garage, and returned with a blanket, which he put down near the wood stove. The dog flopped down on it, tail thumping, and Hadron leaped upon him, playing with his tail as though with a mouse. The dog sighed with resignation. 3,000 years don't seem to make much difference to Hadron, he said. Somehow I find that comforting, but maybe I'm grasping at straws. The bishop arrived with Dr. Louise. I want to make sure that sanity outweighs my brother's fantasy, she said. I don't have to be at the hospital for another hour. The dog's still here. The bishop petted the animal's head, stroked the gray ears. He was with Coralis last night, Polly said. Whatever last night was. Have you had breakfast? Mrs. Murry asked. Long ago, Dr. Louise replied. The bishop looked at the stove. Very long ago. Mrs. Murry handed him a bowl. Help yourself, Nathan. It's only oatmeal this morning. He filled his bowl, heaped on brown sugar and raisins, added milk and sat at the table. I find it comforting that the dog is here. I'm sure he's protection. Now, Polly, tell me exactly what happened last night. Don't leave anything out. I couldn't sleep, she started, and it was as though the pool was pulling me. I can't explain. I knew I shouldn't go to the pool. I didn't want to go to the pool, but it kept pulling me, and I went. The bishop listened carefully, eating all the while, looking up as she described the silver circlet with a crescent moon. Surely, he said, a symbol of the moon goddess. You said Annie had one too? Yes. The moon goddess, and the mother, the earth. What we have, you see, is a mixture of Native American and Celtic tradition. They overlap in many ways. Go on. After a while, Mr. Murry interrupted. You say that Coralis and this other person, Tav, have been here in the New World only 3 years? I think so, Granddad. That's what Honorable and Corrales both said. The bishop nodded. Yes, that's what they told me. I've paid less attention to time than to the trip. Corrales and Tav came in a boat. Of course, that would not be possible now, with the lake long gone, along with the rest of the melt from the glaciers. But 3,000 years ago, it is quite possible that one could have come first across the ocean, and then by the rivers, and probably what are merely brooks and streams now would have been sizable rivers then, and so get to the lake and to this place. What do you think, Alex? Possibly, Mr. Murry agreed. Once they landed on this continent, they could probably have made their way inland in some kind of small boat. It's the ocean crossing that's hard to understand, Dr. Louise said. People did cross oceans, remember, her brother said, navigating by the stars, and the druids were astronomers. The bishop helped himself to more oatmeal. Go on, Polly. When she had finished, the bishop's bowl was again empty. All right. So you were part of the Samhain remembrance of the people of the wind, and Corrales and Tav were assimilated by the native people, the people of the wind? Mr. Murry asked. Corrales became their new leader, the bishop said. He and Tav were blown across the lake by a hurricane, which in itself would have seemed an omen. He took a handful of raisins. Corrales and Tav were each sent from Britain for opposite heresies. Corrales for the refusal to shed blood, and Tav not so much for shedding it as for performing the sacrifice that should have been done by a druid. Tav believed that human sacrifice was demanded, that the earth cried out for blood, and he acted accordingly. Polly, blood. Mr. Murry's voice was heavy. He's thinking of Polly. Until her grandfather put it thus baldly, Polly had not quite absorbed the import of Tav's words the night before. Mrs. Murry asked, was blood sacrifice part of the Druidic ritual? It's not been proven, the bishop said. There's a theory that it was believed the Earth Mother demanded blood, and that each year, perhaps at Samhain, there was a human sacrifice. If possible, it was a prisoner. If not, then someone, usually the weakest in the tribe, would be laid on the altar and blood given to the ground. Polly shivered. What about the skulls? Dr. Louise asked. That, I understand, was common practice among some of the tribes. The skulls of the enemies were placed on high poles in a circle around the altar or the standing stones. Remember, these were Stone Age people, and their thinking was very different from ours. Bloodthirsty, Dr. Louise stated. The bishop asked mildly, any more bloodthirsty than incinerating people with napalm or hydrogen bombs? We appear to be bloodthirsty creatures, we so-called human beings, and peacemakers like Corrales are in minority, I fear. Meanwhile, Mr. Murry demanded, what about Polly? Samhain is over, the bishop said. Corrales was able to send Polly safely home. You think the danger is over? The bishop nodded. It should be. The time has passed. The dog rose from the blanket and came over to Polly, sitting beside her and laying his head on her knee. She put her hand on his neck, which felt strong and warm. His hair, while not long, was soft. The bishop nodded again. Corrales and Annie will protect Polly. Corrales has sent his dog. Mr. Murry spoke sharply. It is not necessarily the same dog. I don't want Polly to see them again, not any of them. And as soon as your time gate is closed, I want Polly away from here. But Granddad, if the time gate is closed, that there isn't any problem, and we don't have to worry about the Tesseract one way or the other. The bishop agreed, then said, Samhain is over. This is All Souls Day, when we remember those who have gone before. It is a quiet day when we can let our grief turn to peace. Nason, Mr. Murry's voice grated. What do we do now? Can you guarantee that the danger to Polly is over? The bishop gazed at a last raisin to his bowl as though searching for an answer. I don't know. If it weren't for the young man, Zachary. What about him? He's part of all this, whatever it is, has His part in all this, whatever it is, has not been played out. Mrs. Murry asked quietly, Is Polly still in the Tesseract? Again, the bishop stared at the raisin. There are too many questions still unresolved. Is that an answer? I don't know. The bishop looked at Mr. Murry. I don't understand your Tesseract. Polly has been through the time gate, and if I am the one who opened it, forgive me. Bishop, Polly interrupted. Tav, what about Tav? Tav has reason for concern. There are neighboring tribes which are not as peaceable as the people of the wind. There have been several summers of drought, far more severe across the lake, where there is no underground river to be tapped for irrigation. Raids have already begun. This land is eminently desirable. Tav is ready to fight to protect it. Is Corrales? Mr. Murry asked. I'm not sure. The bishop rubbed his forehead. He seeks peace, but peace is not easy to maintain single-handed. Mr. Murry went to the dresser. I wish you'd never found the Ogham stones or opened the time gate. It was inadvertent. It was nothing I planned. No? You opened the time gate thoroughly when you brought Annie to Louise. Mr. Murry's voice was level, but it was an accusation nevertheless. Dr. Louise said quickly, she would have lost the use of her forefinger. Infection would probably have set in if I had not used antibiotics. What might seem like a simple slip of the knife could well have proved fatal. Mrs. Murry smiled slightly. Brother and sister do stick together when push comes to shove, she murmured to Polly. Anyhow, Alex, you and I were fascinated, disbelieving but fascinated, until Polly was involved. Mr. Murry asked, is it safe for us to send Polly home to Benestein Island? No, Polly started, but the bishop interrupted, raising his hand authoritatively. I think not yet. Things have to be played out. But meanwhile, we will keep her safe here. One of us must be with her at all times to prevent a recurrence of last night. Not you, please, Nace, Mrs. Murry said. Sorry, but it's you who opened the gate. You're probably right, the bishop conceded. But you, my dear, and Alex, just be with her. What would happen, Mr. Murry suggested, if you sealed up the root cellar? Nothing, I fear. It was simply the closest root cellar to the star-watching rock and the place of your pool. These are the holy places. Holy? Dr. Louise asked. Sacred. We have lots of sense of the sacredness of space as we have settled for the literal and provable. We remember a few of the sacred spaces, such as Mount Moriah in Jerusalem or Glastonbury Abbey. Mount Moriah was holy before even Abraham took Isaac there. So was Bethel, the house of God, before Jacob had his dream, or before the Ark of the Covenant was briefly located there, according to Judges. Nace, his sister said softly, you're getting in the pulpit again. But he went on. One theory is that such sacred spaces were connected by ley lines. She interrupted. Nace, what on earth are ley lines? They are lines of electromagnetic power, well documented in England, leading from one holy place to another, lines of energy. I suspect that there is a ley line between the root cellar and the star-watching rock, between the star-watching rock and the pool. What faddish rubbish, his sister said. But Polly remembered Corrales talking about lines between the stars, lines between places, between people. It did not seem like rubbish. It can't become a fad, the bishop told his sister, but that doesn't make the original holiness any less holy. I don't want you falling for fads in your old age, Dr. Louise warned. Louise, I didn't ask for any of this. I wasn't looking for Ogham stones, but they can hardly be classified as rubbish. I had no idea that your root cellar was in fact not a root cellar at all. I didn't expect 3,000 years to be bridged by Annie, but Annie is a lovely, innocent creature, and I feel a distinct responsibility toward her. How can you be responsible for someone who has been dead for approximately 3,000 years? Dr. Louise demanded. Her story is already told. Kaput. Finished. Is it? The bishop whispered. Is it? Dr. Louise went to the door. I had to get along to the hospital, but I think it might be a good idea for all of you to come over to our house for lunch and perhaps the rest of the day. The greatest risk to Polly seems to come from right around here, and I think there's a certain safety for her from being with us. Pragmatists who may well keep Nace's time gate closed, but because basically we still don't give it our willing suspension of disbelief. This plan was readily agreed to, although there was considerable argument about whether or not Polly should be allowed to ride in the pickup truck with the bishop. There are no time gates on the highway, the bishop said. We'll go directly to your house, Louise, and Kate and Alex can come right behind us. Why can't Polly go with Kate and Alex? I feel responsible. Nace, you're the last person she should be with. But the bishop was persistent, and finally it was agreed that Polly could ride with him as long as he stayed within the speed limit, and the grandparents followed directly behind him. I'll be home for lunch, Dr. Louise said. I'll pick up some cold cuts on the way. Polly climbed into the truck after the bishop. The dog whined and barked, not wanting to be left behind. Go, Mr. Murry ordered the dog. Go to wherever you came from. The bishop started the ignition. Polly, I'm sorry, she sighed. Don't be. It wasn't anything you planned. And Bishop, it may be scary, but it's also exciting. I wish I had something to give you for protection, a talisman of some kind. She had put on the red anorak. Now she felt in the pocket and pulled out Zachary's icon. Zachary gave me this yesterday afternoon. The bishop took it, keeping one hand lightly on the steering wheel. A guardian angel icon. It's delightful. Utterly delightful. Behind them, the Murrays honked, and the bishop laid his foot on the accelerator and gave the icon back to Polly. It's a reminder that there are powers of love in the universe, and as long as you respond with love, they'll help you. She put the icon back in her pockets. Once my Uncle Stanley gave me an icon of St. George and the Dragon, and it didn't stop bad things from happening, the bishop suggested. An icon is not meant to be an idol. It's a reminder that love is greater than hate. Do you really and truly believe that? The bishop nodded calmly. Then he said, you know a good bit of physics, don't you? Secretary? Indeed. Do you know what physicists call the very different interactions between the electromagnetic, the gravitational, and the strong and weak forces? Nope. The hierarchy of interactions. Hierarchy was the word used by Dionysius Areopagite to refer to the arrangement of angels into three divisions, each consisting of three orders. Today, the physicist arranges the fundamental interactions of matter into hierarchies instead, but it does go to show you that at least they've heard of angels. Why does it show that? Your grandfather pointed it out to me. Does that mean he believes in angels? Perhaps. I do, though not that they look like that beautiful angel in your icon. What is the first thing that angels in Scripture say when they appear before somebody? What? Fear not. That gives you an idea of what they must have looked like. Once again, the Murrays honked. Again, the bishop slowed down, then turned up the hill to Dr. Louise's house in a burst of speed, stopped, and turned off the ignition. The Murrays drew up beside him. They sat around Dr. Louise's kitchen table. It's by far the warmest place in the house, the bishop said. Polly felt a wave of unreality wash over her. In a way, she was as much out of the world staying with her grandparents or here in Dr. Louise's kitchen as when she moved into honor roll's time. Her grandparents were isolated in their own special scientific worlds. Their house was outside the village. She could go for days without seeing anyone else, and she did not go to the post office or the store. At home, although the O'Keefe's house on Bennetstein Island was as isolated as her grandparents' house, school and her siblings kept her in touch with the real world. How real was it? Drugs were a problem at Coopertown High. So were unwed mothers. So was a lack of motivation, a lazy conviction that the world owed the students a living. She suddenly realized that although there was a television set in her grandfather's study, they had not turned it on. The radio was set to a classical music station. Her grandparents read the papers, and she assumed that if anything world-shattering was happening, they would tell her. But she had, as it were, dropped out since she had come to them. She looked at her grandparents and the bishop. Zachary's coming tomorrow. What are we going to do about Zachary? I want Louise to see him, Mrs. Murry said. She's not a cardiologist, Mr. Murry warned. She's been a general practitioner for so long in a place where there are a few specialists that she has considerable knowledge based on years and years of experience. All right, I grant you that. But I suppose that Zachary would like us to treat him as normally as possible. His seeing Annie may have been an aberration, or it may not have been Annie he saw at all. Who else could it be? Polly asked. They all looked up and they heard an urgent barking outside. The bishop went to the door, opened it, and in came a dog, tail wagging, romping first to Mr. Murry and Polly, then the others. The bishop put his hand on the dog's head. We can't escape the past, even here. He's a perfectly ordinary dog. Mr. Murry was determined. I'm still not certain he's anything but a stray. He's protection, the bishop said. Don't take that lightly. The dog pressed to Mrs. Murry and leaned his head against her knees. Absently, she funneled the animal's ears. We don't seem to have much choice about keeping this creature. You have been chosen, the bishop smiled. And though in response, the dog's ropey tail thudded against the floor. Now you should name him. Mr. Murry said, if we name him, we're making a commitment to him. But we are, aren't we? Polly asked. Her grandmother sighed lightly. So it would seem. Polly added, and Dr. Louise said you needed another dog. The bishop suggested, would you like to name him Polly? She looked at the dog which, while he did not seem to belong to any known breed, was handsome in his own way. His tan coat was sleek and shiny, and the black tracing around his ears gave him a distinguished look. His robe of a tail was unusually long, tipped with black. He ought to have a Celtic name, I suppose. That is, if he has anything to do with Corrales, he may be just a stray. Mr. Murry was not going to give in. Ogham. How about calling him Ogham? Why not? Polly's grandmother asked. Naming a dog is a normal, ordinary thing to do, and we need normal, ordinary things right now. The dog settled at Polly's feet, snoring lightly and contentedly. Okay, Polly, her grandfather said, let's have some normal, ordinary lesson time. What is Heisenberg's uncertainty principle? She sighed, relaxing into the world of particle physics, which, strange as it was a welcome relief. Well, if you're measuring the speed of a particle, you can't measure its position. Or if you measure its position, you can't measure its speed. You can measure one or the other, but not both at the same time. Right. How many quarks does the proton have? 3. 1 of each color. Position, 2 up quarks and 1 down quark. And quarks are infinitely small particles. The word quark is out of Finnegan's Wake. So Murray Gell-Mann, who named them, obviously read Joyce. I find that rather comforting. So did Polly. Working with her grandfather was ordinary and normal, but it was not ordinary and normal to be sitting in Dr. Louise's kitchen. Her grandparents felt the dislocation too. The lesson petered out. Her grandmother took the wilting bunch of roses from the table and emptied the water from the vase. I'll just go throw these on the compost and see if there are a few more to bring in. Mr. Murry looked at his granddaughter. You all right? Sure, fine. If I go out to the garden with your grandmother, you'll stay right there? I won't go anywhere. Nor I, the bishop promised. We'll be only a few minutes. As the door slammed behind Mr. Murry, the bishop said, what happened last night? It was very frightening. It was frightening? He asked. Are you frightened? A little. A little is not enough. We can't have you going through the time gate again. Polly looked down at the dog, Ogum. His black nose was shiny. His eyes were closed, and he had long dark lashes. I went through the time gate last night because I went down to the pool and put on the silver circlet. Don't do it again. Of course not, Bishop. But the first time I went through, I was just walking along on my way to the star-watching rock. I wish you could go home. Bishop, I'm in a tesseract. Granddad believes it could really hurt me if I were taken out. He's probably right. Does he believe that Tav would put you on the altar for sacrifice? I don't know. I'm not sure I believe it. Believe it, child. The idea of blood sacrifice is gone from our frame of reference, but it's not that much different or worse than things that go on today. What else is the electric chair or lethal injection the human sacrifice? We're told that it's to protect society, Polly said. Isn't Tav trying to protect his society in the only way he knows how? He believed that if the mother isn't a peace, his land and his people are going to be taken over by stronger tribes. Tav likes me, Polly said softly. Who could help it? The bishop asked. His liking for you will just make it harder for him to do what he believes he is called to do. Do you understand? He has to obey the mother whether he wants to or not. She doesn't sound very motherly, Polly said. The bishop continued, I don't want to speak this way in front of your grandparents. They're already distressed enough, and if it would be seriously harmful to you to send you away, there's no point in upsetting them further. I agree, Polly said, and I promise not to do anything stupid. Now, about Zachary. I don't understand what he has to do with all this. Corrales may be right. If he's near death, I don't think death is imminent or anything, but he's scared. Of? Death. He's frightened of death. Yes, the bishop nodded. He thinks death is the end. Poof. Annihilation. And you, Polly? I can't imagine Max entirely gone from the universe. I don't need to know how she is being somehow, Max. Learning whatever it is she needs to learn, doing whatever she's supposed to do. But I can't just imagine her totally wiped out. What you believe is what I too believe, the bishop said. It is enough. The Murrays returned then, Mrs. Murry carrying a few yellow roses which were still blooming in a sheltered corner. She cut their stems, put them in the vase, and set it on the table. They were all on edge, out of place, trying to make normal that which was not normal. At least you take it seriously, Polly said. You don't think the bishop and I are out of our tree? We would if we could, her grandmother said. I just wish, Mr. Murry spread out his gnarled hands, that we could be in this with you. Dr. Louise came in with 2 brown paper bags, which she set down on the table, then shucked off her outer clothes, hanging them on the antlers. Bread, not as good as yours, Alex, but reasonable, and an assortment of cold cuts. The bishop unpacked the bags, setting out plates of bread and meat, while Dr. Louise took condiments from the refrigerator and a pitcher of milk. I'll make tea, the bishop offered. They sat around the table, making sandwiches. And we don't know what to say, Polly thought. Dr. Louise sighed. All Souls Day, the bishop said. Always a poignant day for Louise and me. There was a silence, and Polly looked questioningly at her grandparents. Mrs. Murry spoke in an even voice. It was on this date that Louise's husband and baby boy and Nathan's wife were killed in a train accident. Louise survived. Nathan was away. It was a long time ago. Dr. Louise's expression was calm. I was pregnant again and I miscarried. I thought I had lost all that made life worth living, but Nathan kept prodding me, and I went to medical school, and I have had a good life. I have a good life. And I, the bishop said, with friends who keep the stars in their courses for me, and a faith in God's loving purpose and eventual working out of the pattern. And all this, Dr. Louise asked, this 3,000-year-old time capsule you've opened up, what does this do to your faith? The bishop smiled. Why, what is it, I hope? Dr. Louise laughed softly. Nathan, if you'd been a druid, you'd probably have been excommunicated for heresy, just like Corrales. Yesterday's heresy becomes tomorrow's dogma, the bishop replied mildly, and Polly thought once again of grew Donald Bruno. After lunch, they went for a walk. They went for a walk in the woods behind Dr. Louise's house, Ogham close at their heels, occasionally tearing off in great loops, but always circling back, behaving just like an ordinary dog, the bishop said. Bless Og. He may give you a sense of security, Nace, Dr. Louise said, but he reminds me of the reason we're keeping Polly here all day, and that's something I'd rather forget. They found some beautiful pale pig mushrooms, saw the bright red clustered berries of Jack in the Pulpit, and tried to pretend they were focused on a nature walk. The rising wind and their own restlessness drove them in. The bishop made tea from a selection of herbs in the garden. They played Botticelli and other word games, but they could not concentrate. When the sun slipped behind the mountains, Mr. Murry stood up. It's time we went home. We'll keep a close eye on Polly. And, as you say, Nace, Samhain is over. Keep the dog here. But not long after they were home, there was a sharp, demanding bark outside. He stays in the garage, Mrs. Murry said. They had a quiet dinner with music in the background. Afterwards, Polly helped her grandfather with the dishes. When they were through, he suggested, let's go for a brief stroll around the house. They put on anoraks, and as soon as they were out of the house, Og pressed up beside them. We always used to walk our dogs 3 times around the vegetable garden, her grandfather said. We might as well continue the tradition. It helps keep the woodchucks away. I plowed and composted half the garden, but we still have some good broccoli and sprouts and carrots and beets. The twins' garden was magnificent. After they left home for college, they grew Christmas trees for a while, but when they were all sold, I found I want a vegetable garden again. What time is your young man coming tomorrow? Around 2, I think. Og chased off into the field, and Mr. Murry whistled, and he turned and ran back to them. Good boy, Mr. Murry praised, though whistling was a reflex. The whistling was a reflex. I should have let you go. He stood, raising his face to the sky. It was a clear night with a Milky Way, a river of stars. Polly tipped her head to look for the North Star. I can understand how people could see a Big Dipper or a Little Dipper, she said, but not bears. And maybe if you draw lines between those stars, you can make a crooked chair for Cassiopeia. Lay lines between stars? There's Orion's belt, her grandfather pointed. See those 3 bright stars? Belt's okay, she said, but I don't see Orion the hunter. Some night, could we have a plain old-fashioned astronomy lesson? As she spoke, a falling star streaked across the sky and went out in a flash of green light. Of course. Let me do a little brushing up. It would be nice to have a dog again. It ensures a night walk, and that means a chance to look up at the sky. Granddad, where do you think Og came from? I really don't think he came from 3,000 years ago. We often have stray dogs in the village, dumped out of carts by people going back to the city. People don't do that. People do. They have a puppy or a kitten for the summer, and then, on the way back to the city, they let their summer pet loose. Maybe the city's got into their bloodstream and they're under the illusion that country dogs and cats can fend for themselves. I phoned around to see if anybody's lost a dog, but thus far, nobody has. He's a sweet dog, but he's going to sleep in the garage tonight, not in the house. Mrs. Murry came into Polly's room wearing her nightclothes. Polly, love, I'm glad this is a double bed. I'm going to sleep with you. Gran, it's all right. I won't leave. I won't go downstairs, I promise. Your grandfather and I will feel better if I'm in here with you. But you won't be as comfortable. I'll keep you awake. Please, for our sakes. Okay, Gran, but I really don't think it's necessary. I mean, it's fine with me, but... Mrs. Murry laughed. Indulge your grandfather and me. We just want to make sure one of us is with you. She got into bed beside Polly. Let's read for a while. Polly picked up a book, but she could not concentrate. After half an hour, her grandmother kissed her goodnight, mwah, and turned over to her side to sleep. Polly switched off the light, but she was not sleepy. Hadrian was stretched out between them, purring sleepily. Again the pool was pulling her, pulling. This time she would resist. She pressed up against her grandmother's back. Was it Tad's influence, pulling her toward the pool and the past as the moon pulls the tide? Polly stiffened. No, she would not go to the pool. If she got out of bed, her grandmother would waken, would stop her. What Ted cared about was protecting the land, the flocks, the people, and Polly could not help feeling sympathy for that. When the O'Keefes had to leave the island of Gaia, with its golden beaches and azure waters, it had been because of developers, because of greed and corruption, and people lusting for money and power and ignoring the loveliness of the island, the birds and the animals and the natives, who lived much as they must have many centuries earlier. And Benassi Island was already being developed, and soon it too would be irrevocably changed, with no thought for the birds whose habitat had been the jungly forests, or for the great trees 200 and 300 years old. Is it all greed and corruption? She asked herself. We've become an overpopulated planet. People need places to live. But the condos and resort hotels were for the rich, not the poor. Nobody was building condos in the Sahara or the Kalahari deserts. Not yet. But 3,000 years ago, the planet was not overpopulated. There was land enough for everybody. Was drought really bad enough to send tribes away from their home places and into land that belonged to others? Was it the history of the planet one of people taking over other people's lands? Didn't Jacob and his people take over the land of Canaan? The Romans and then the Saxons and then the Normans took over the British Isles, and then the British took over India, and as some of the American colonists wanted to live in peace with the Indians, others didn't. Others took over. She sighed. There were no easy answers. The pull of the pool had lessened. Polly nestled against her grandmother and went to sleep.